Have you ever seen a book editor at work? Let me walk you through how I would edit a paragraph. But first, rotate your screen with me. Here we go. And thank you. Here's the paragraph I'm going to edit with you today. He was aware of the ducks that were swimming in the pond. He could feel that the wind was starting to pick up, and before long he noticed that all the children in the park were beginning to go home for the day. He was sure she had stood him up. Now, you might notice that there are not exactly any obvious spelling, grammar, or punctuation errors, but editing is so much more than that. Here's one way to edit that paragraph. It's a rather light-handed way. You can see the suggested edits that I'm making here, cuts, rewordings, and this is what the paragraph would look like if you were to accept all of those suggested edits. So you can pause and read both of those if you like. Now that is some light-handed fixing, but some authors are interested in heavy-handed improving. So this is more or less a rewrite. This is something that you could certainly do for your own writing. It's something that if you're a professional editor, you'd only want to do for certain clients that really want heavy-handed editing. Regardless, there are a few different methods that we are doing here. First of all, as you saw in the first example, we are cutting down on phrases like the ducks, that were, that was, he noticed that. We've already cut those down. Now we are adding some phrases. We are adding in details. The ducks aren't just swimming, they are swimming in lazy circles around the pond. Instead of just talking about the wind picking up, we are showing it. We're showing it blowing his hair into his eyes, tossing the corner of the blanket over his legs. Of course this is technically telling, but again, it's art, baby. We've also extended out that last sentence. Initially it was just, he was sure she stood him up. But now we are showing that he's waiting. The kids go home, even the ducks go home, even the sun starts to go home, and only then will he admit that she had stood him up. Writing and editing are arts. There is no one right way to do it. You might have edited this passage very differently, and that's totally okay. Especially with a content edit like this, which is what this is doing. We're editing the content of this paragraph. There's lots of different ways you can do it, and there's subjectivity that comes into play. While it is artsy, we are working on best practices. We are adding in 5 senses imagery, we are getting rid of phrases like that were, we are getting more specific with the details. Whether you're editing for yourself or editing for a client, this is the sort of thing that people will want for a heavy-handed edit. And if they are not looking for heavy-handed, you can still improve the writing with a light-handed edit. As I'm doing this, I'm realizing that there's a quotation mark for some reason. Hey, Pobody's nerfed, right? We're gonna rotate back. Whoa, here we go. Great, now you're all set for the next video. Editing is an art, and while a good editor will use best practices, skills, and strategies that can be taught, and guidelines that we know we should follow, even for a content edit, it's still an art, and there are still subjective things that sometimes the author will just reject. And that's okay. What I would ask of you is to not get hung up on the different changes that I've made and whether or not you agree with all of them, but to take this as a learning opportunity. And the thing that is to be learned is that editing is subjective, just like writing is. And editors can work to different capacities. If an author really just wants things to be correct, we can focus on fixing. But if an author wants things to be improved, and if they want some of our artistic ideas, we can certainly do that as well. If you're looking to hire an editor, it is something that you should bring up at the beginning. Are you looking for a heavy edit or a light edit? And if you're an editor, or if a friend of yours wants you to read and comment on their writing, that's something you might want to ask them. Do you want me to fix errors, or do you want me to suggest improvements? Happy editing, happy writing, and good luck.